Well, good morning, man. We're starting off a great morning with you get a chance. If you're a woman in business, you get a chance to get three concepts that will accelerate your growth in your business because she's not talking about it, she's doing it. And there's a big difference when your heart connects with your head and you're doing something and you're aligned with how you're living your life and living your business, you succeed. So she's been on our mindset podcast, and I said, dang, we got to get you to inspire the women in business because I'll tell you this before I want you to introduce yourself because it could be a new audience. The
Sounds good.
first time I came back to KBA, I went to a morning, like when I met you at your studio. Well, it's right down the street from my golf place. So I'm heading down there and I said, well, let me check out this place that it's a coffee shop. And I pull in there, no sign, wiped out, nothing, out of business. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that is kind of like for everybody that's been in business, we know that we learn from our mistakes or we're not going to get better. But the idea that, I mean, I met her. I don't remember the name of the place, and that's not important. What is important is people say, I want to get in business for myself because I'm tired of working for the man. I hear that. If I've heard that once, I've heard it 100 times.
Yeah.
Okay. If you decide to do that, you better be ready. And
Mm-hmm.
what we're going to do is we're going to share how you prepared yourself because I think the third Wake Up KBA was when I went to see you, and I like, holy mackerel, confidence just communicated through your sharing of what was going on. I immediately said, this is somebody who's going to make a mark in business. So we always like to stay with the three concepts. Before we go to that, introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
Sounds good. My name is Joanie Chamberland, and I am the owner and instructor of RiseUp Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And we're just teaching people how to become the best version of themselves in a sporting, inviting, wow, I can't speak this morning, supporting and inviting environment. So you're going to learn how to defend yourself. You're going to learn how to, hold yourself better, be more confident. And honestly, just the parallels of life between jiu-jitsu, and what happens in everyday life and all the struggles of everyday life you're going to be dealing with out on the mat in jiu-jitsu as well. So teaching you how to, and your kids, right? So we start at ages forward. So it's for
Mhm.
everybody, but just learning how to have better self-control, self-confidence, and just overall just live a better life.
Man, I couldn't have said that any better. That is so good because we've had different paths to get to where we are, and I see similarities in it. But to get back to what you said, a couple things before we get into your concepts. Talk about the importance of community. I mean, you talk about being involved in the community of nurturing, of developing, learning, self defense, those kind of things. So, speak to our viewers about the importance of community within your business.
So, a lot of people don't know this, but in jiu-jitsu, it takes about 10 years to get a black belt. Because in most martial arts, it takes about like 3-ish years. That's why you hear, people's 7 and 8 year olds are black belts in Taekwondo. And so there's also age limits, or you have to minimum ages to get ranks in all of the martial arts. But with jiu-jitsu, it takes about, like I said, it takes about 10 years to get your black belt. A fast track would be about 6 years. So it's really important to have the right community around you. That how you want to feel supported where you are because you're going to be there for a very long time. And it's honestly a big thing where in a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, the students don't feel comfortable talking to their instructors, and so they don't know what their instructors expect out of them, right? And it also depending what environment you're in, some of the gyms I've been to and I've trained at and been a part of those teams, the instructors kind of pit the students against the other students, right? It's like you can't get your belt unless you beat this person, which then kind of fosters this non-team spirit, in my opinion, because you're fighting against your own teammates. So, the culture, the environment, the places you go to, you really want it to be supportive and you want it to be, you know, what you want in life. Do you want to be in a gym where people are collaborating, communicating, working together, helping each other get better? Or do you want this illusion, because there's a lot of times you go in there, you have that quote, iron sharpens iron. It's like that's fine and dandy, but when that's all you're doing is just all the time, if that's what you want, if that's what you're looking for, and that's your culture. If you're trying to get, you know, a place where you feel like you're part of a family, if you feel like, your teammates have your back, because in jujitsu, everybody says it's not a team sport, but it's very much a team sport. You're helping each other by training against each other to get better to fight the people you're going to fight when you compete, right? So
Mhm.
the environment needs to be, what you want. And it kind of should parallel, you know, what you're looking for in your life. If you're already kind of shy and quiet and you're trying to get, more live, more confident, then you probably don't want to go to that gym that's very quiet, doesn't really demand much of you. Kind of already, you're not going to change much there. You want to have that instructor that's like, come on, guys, let's go, and is, nice and loud. So just looking at exactly what it is that you need in that environment is very important. And trying it out and make sure, it is what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, golly day, there's so many lessons in just what you shared. And I think in business, if you can't collaborate, if you can't put yourself in an environment that nurtures you and the people around you, and you want to do it like the old self-made, you hear, oh, I'm a self-made person, whatever. There ain't nobody that's self-made. You talk to successful people, they'll share just what you shared, because it's hard in business. And just like that coffee shop that's out of business, I don't know what the dialogue was to get in business, but it might have been, hey, let's open up a business. And opening up a business and putting a shingle out there is just the first step. That's the easiest step because you just put in some money, but you haven't prepared maybe properly. So I love that 10-year time frame that you talked about, because I do see I'll run into somebody and they'll say, "Oh, I'm a black belt and I'm 10 years old," and there's nothing. That's great. That's awesome. But 10 years is, for a lot of people, an eternity. But how did you, like, when you're starting off for that journey? I know you didn't think, well, in 10 years, I'm going to be ready to go. We talked in the last time, I think it was off the air. You journal, you set goals, you prepare yourself for each day. You do all the things to get ready for the day. Let's talk to our business owners out there. 10 years of prepping, and it's actually more than 10 years in your case, but let's talk to them about that delayed gratification, or I have the podcast, The Echo Effect. It doesn't come right away, it comes later in life. How did you, in your, like, looking at your journey, say, dang, it's going to be like a 10 plus journey to really get? Did you just take it one day at a time, or did you have that vision of really being the best and being prepared because you knew the environment you were in?
Well, I started martial arts at 4. So I think, most martial arts help you learn delayed gratification. Even if it's 3 years to your black belt, you're still learning a lot, right?
Hmm.
And you're still learning how to get that delayed gratification, getting your belt in those martial arts. Like the next belt typically takes about 3-ish months, right? Which still for a kid, you don't know how long 3 months is. You don't know how long what a day is, right? The younger that you are when you're starting these things. And so it takes enough time, even for an adult, to wait 3 months to get something is, can be delayed gratification. And sorry, my cat's scratching in the background to get out of the room.
That's okay. It's real
um,
life. Okay.
right? She's just pawing away at the door. But anyways, so with the whole 10 years, honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I never even thought about the time frame to get anything in
Right.
jiu-jitsu because, one of the big things is like if you're in it to do that, you're not gonna be in it. If you're just looking for that black belt, if you're looking for the and so I just really like jiu-jitsu. Like I started it because I wanted to do jiu-jitsu. So my journey's a little different than most because they have some reason. I want to defend myself. I want to do this. I want to do that. Right. And my mentor Joe was like, "Well, you still had a reason," and I was like, "Well, I really liked it." And he's like, "But why? Why did you really like it?" And so we kind of got down to it. It's just like, yeah, I'm a very small person, and being able to beat up big dudes, and I grew up with dudes, right? So being able to beat up dudes is was very much a motivator for me. Like I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that I could do these things to beat people that are bigger than me. And at the time, I was, wrestling around the living room with my friend Sarah, who was bigger and stronger. She played soccer, so she was like, super fit and strong. So I was learning stuff to beat her on the side, which was, felt very nice.
Hmm.
So for me, it was that whole thing. Like I just went into it because I liked the techniques and the things I was learning to be able to beat somebody who was bigger than I was, which is kind of the whole point of jujitsu, right? Is to be the smaller opponent that can beat a bigger opponent. Now
Hmm.
remember, it's to beat someone who doesn't train jujitsu. When you're fighting a big person who also is good at jujitsu, it's a very different thing. In my head, it's still like, ooh, can I do this thing to beat them? So
Hmm.
being in that mindset, of A, I'm not in it for what the end is, right? I'm in it for the whole journey. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna get my black belt. And then it's like people would ask, well, how does it feel getting your black belt once I got it? And it's like it should. I don't, I knew I was gonna get my black belt because I knew I was gonna continue doing it. And it's not to say there aren't many times I was like, I hate this, I'm quitting, I'm done. And the whole thing you said about the self-made man doesn't exist because I could tell you that my best friend heard me. He's a black belt. His name's Thomas, and I can't tell you the amount of phone calls Thomas got. Like, I'm quitting. I'm done with this. Whatever. And Thomas would be like, "Oh, so you're just gonna do this whole thing and quit, right? Sure. I'll see you tomorrow." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sounds good." Um, and so that helped, kind of with business of being that thing of, I've always done all these things that are to most people are just so hard, and it's like, well, I don't know, I just do them because my whole thing isn't like, oh, what's this going to look like in 10 years, what's this thing, I'm just
Hmm.
I want to start something. I have obviously an idea of what I want it to be like, and then I break it down. All right, what are the steps I need to take to get there, right? Because if I'm just looking at that thing so far away all the time, I'm still not where I want to be in business. So if I was just looking at that and that was my only motivator, man, I would have quit during COVID. So um it really helps to just go, okay, well, I've done this thing. I already know. It takes a long time. And and the reality is, it took me a long time to have because we've talked about this silent confidence I have, right? And there are things that I'm confident in doing because they come to me naturally. Uh, but confidence is something that earn based on the things that you're doing. And so it took me a very long time in jujitsu to feel confident because I went from a school where we didn't go very hard and my instructor left and I was teaching for a while and I went to a new school where literally they just do competition rounds for every round. And I was very small compared to the people there because the instructor is like 6'4" Brazilian man. So it's like just this big dude. So big dudes go to that gym because they flock to the big guy.
Hmm.
Um, but of course I did this to be able to beat people so I didn't care. Um, so it's just this thing of like I would go there and get beat up all the time, and so you just have to persevere through. And it was one of the things when I first went, I had learned my instructor had lowered his rank when he went to a new instructor to regain, and so I was like, if you want me to, I'll do that. And they're like, no. And my new instructor's instructor was like, someone gave her that belt, so she's either gonna earn that belt or she's gonna quit. And they didn't tell me that. Of course, I found out about it later, and it was one of those things of like, yeah, I came here. My point was to come here and learn these things and get better. And I chose this place because it was so challenging. So it's kind of the same thing for me with business is knowing that like, okay, it took me so much time to feel like, okay, I'm ready for this belt. I feel good. I feel like I'm where I should be. And my thought was literally just I got to a point where I went, you know what? I'm good at jujitsu. Nobody can take that away. Um, but I can get better. Right. So it was
Mhm.
just like, just that was the confidence, right? Just a baseline. Like nobody can say I'm not good. I can't say I'm not good, but that's just here. Right. I can always get better and better and better.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of the thing with business is it's like, okay, I started here and I'm trying these things, maybe they don't work. Try these things, maybe they work. And so I keep going on and on, just adding a little bit more every day to try to make me feel like, okay, I'm doing the right things I should be doing business. I'm doing the things I learned. I'm doing the new things I'm learning and just trying to get better at those. So it's kind of that parallel I was talking about. Is like, yeah, at some points you're not very confident. And then eventually you look back, you're like, oh, I was doing those things, right? Let's keep doing
Mhm.
that. And then I can always get better. And that's where I meet people like you, go to the KBA and do all of those things. So I think that would be for me the big parallel of, what I learned through martial arts and what I'm doing in business.
Yeah, I this was probably 25 years ago when I kind of got first introduced to personal development through Tony Robbins. I listened to an interview with a prisoner of war, and this stuck out in my mind that he took every day as one day. Like tomorrow could be the day I'm going to be released, but I think it was a long time, like 15 years, something like. And so if he said, I know when Tony asked him, he said, if you knew that it was going to be 15 years, could you have done it? And he goes, absolutely not. I took it one day at a time. And each day I tried to manage that day, not looking out into the future. And so I like how you framed it as like, you didn't say, like, in 10 years, I'm going to be ready. I mean, you took it one day at a time, got better. And I have the personal development podcast, which I'd love to have you back on that because when we talked about journaling, goals, improving each day, that's exactly what personal development. You're on a different track than I'm on, but we're still on a track of getting better because in business, it ain't easy. I mean, to open up before COVID and still be around, crazy good because you can't Zoom your sessions. I mean,
No.
it's like you had to be there. So you sign up and then
And
all
you
of a
have to
sudden,
be with someone,
yeah, I know.
full contact. People will be like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
it's
And it's
like
like,
I
I
can't
nothing.
text you. Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine. That's probably a podcast just in itself is dealing with adversity. I mean, who saw that coming? And some businesses survive, but a lot of them survive by doing like Zooms and stuff. And that's not, as you said, that's not the model. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, this Zoom session, you're doing this." That would be weird
Yeah,
because it's a
some schools
contact
did
sport.
it. I heard
Yeah,
some schools doing it, and I was like, I'm not doing this. This is not.
yeah,
Nope. We did
yeah.
like some virtual classes once a week, but it wasn't jujitsu. It was just a workout. And I just challenged my students to come and like do a workout with me online. And every week there was someone else that joined me, like one of the kids or something that was doing it like with me, and they were
Hmm.
watching me and that kid do it. But it, we were not doing jujitsu. It was just like some hit workouts just to keep them involved and moving.
How important is, as a woman in business, how important is confidence to you?
Um, it's huge, right? Because sadly, in my shopping center that I'm at, there was a lady who opened up next door, and she came in from another state and came down and was like, "Oh, I heard this is great. I don't even know what a Publix is. We don't have Publix." And I was like, "Oh, it's like one of our biggest grocery stores." Like, because I was telling her, she's like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "A Publix, like it's huge." She's like, "Publix, okay." And a few more doors down, another lady had opened up a different kind of business later on, and I hung out with the one next door to me for a while, and very confident lady. in her setting, right? She came out, she stepped out of her comfort zone, go somewhere where she knew no one. And in the business that she had, she really needed like referrals and talking in the community. And unfortunately, I didn't learn about the YPAL and the KBA until after she was already gone.
Hmm.
And, and she did what she needed to. And I could see in her confidence. Now, her closing shop didn't really have to do with the business. I mean, it was hard. She kept trying, but she actually had family things and left and went back to her state. So I'm not saying that for her, she wasn't confident, because I think she
Right.
was very, and a lot of things that me and her talked about, I would just go sit with her and be like, I don't want to work by myself. So I'm gonna come sit with you and do my work while you do your work. And we did some sessions where we sat down and talked about things. And I did have some good ideas from her because of her confidence in the things that she's done before moving
Hmm.
here with her business, and her going like, what do you think? And of course, she was a black lady. She's like, I'm black moving into this area. I know nobody. Like, she's like, it's a whole different thing too once you think about the different ethnicities and race and all that, right? It's like,
Hmm.
okay, like she really was out there. She was working really hard. She was like, bringing some people in. And so it was very inspiring to see her like in a place she didn't know anyone. Like, she was like, you don't come to me unless you have your whole list of people that you're going to contact. And so that to me was like, oh, she's going to make it, like, and like I said, she moved out because she had to go deal with things in the state she came from and her family. But she was really pushing through, doing a lot of things. I was like, okay, like if she can do that in a place where she knows nobody, I can do that in a place where I know a lot of people. Um,
Yeah.
and
No,
then,
that's good. Go ahead. Keep going. I
oh,
didn't
I
mean.
was gonna say, and then the other lady, she wasn't there very long at all, a couple months, and I was introducing myself to people in the shopping center that were close by, that were small business owners, because we were trying to kind of work together, and we have like a little welcome to the neighborhood thing that we give out. And it was a few businesses that I really spoke with that wanted in on it, that we gave like a extra discount if they came to one of our shops and
Hmm.
whatever. So I walked down and I was meeting people, and I met her, and very smart lady, very shy. And I kept telling her, like, come out to my studio, talk to my students about what you offer, so they'll want to come down to your business. Um, come with me to KBA, come with me to the YPOW. um Spoke with her a few times, but she's just like, I'm just so shy, like I don't want to go out there and talk to people, I don't want to, and so I kept trying. I got her to come down once or twice, and then um I was supposed to meet with her, and I hadn't heard from her, and I walked down just the other day, and her shop is gone.
Yeah.
And so if you want to talk about, you know and I don't know the ins and out of it, but
Yeah.
just even seeing, she was, and she told me, she's like, I can't talk in front of your class, and it's just like, the girl next door to me closing, because she was leaving, back to her home state, and then just never really hearing from. And I messaged a lady later on, and I said, hey, where you at? Like, is everything okay? Never heard anything. And so it's like, like I said, I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah.
I could tell the difference with, with me talking to the people that I have around, with the girl next door to me. And, she was working so hard, so confident in what she was doing, getting people in the door. And then this other lady that, was struggling, and I was trying to help her out, get her out there. And it's just, if you don't have that confidence, it's very hard to be a business owner, because it's a lot harder than people think going in.
Yes.
Oh, I understand how this works. Sure, sure. We all understand. But then when you sit down and try to do all of those things, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's I love that example of the two business owners, because I'm actually an introvert, but I actually have to charge my batteries in complete silence. So when I go out there, I'm kind of a combination of both. Never realized it until I have no TV, no social, no nothing but singular focus. And it has served quite a bit, because I run into people that say that, like, I'll invite them to be on the podcast, and I'm just speaking to our women. They'll say, that's not my thing. And I say, why? They'll say, it's just not my thing. I said, are you shy? Just kidding around. Because when somebody wants to promote your business, you can't just say no, because if you're the well kept secret, you're out of business. You got to be out
Yep.
there promoting, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. You have to figure out a way. You're the voice of the business. You can't like say, hey, Pete, will you promote my business? No, it doesn't work that way. You own the business. You have to be out there building relationships, just like you said. I mean, I love that you went around to the shopping center to build relationships with your neighbors. I'm surprised. We did some business in California, my partner and I, and we introduced that very concept. And it was like they had never met their neighbors. I mean, here they are right next to them, and they've never met them. I mean, what do you're in business to succeed, and relationships, plus your person right next to you is bringing people in. Like you said, come speak to my students, talk to them about your business so they may be interested in patronizing your business. And if you say, nah, I don't think that's I'm comfortable with that. Well, you got to get out of your comfort zone. And
I mean, I think 25% of the ladies' business, if not up to 50%, was my students coming next door to buy a cup
yeah,
of tea. Yeah, they loved it. And when she was gone, like, where'd she go? And they got a discount because they're from my
yeah,
studio next door. And that's the other thing I do is all my students get a discount at those places.
yeah.
And I think part of that was like when I opened up my first gym, it was in the same shopping center that I was teaching in Master Arts School when I opened in the same center. And I already went to the chiropractor there, which was basically next door. So like the three
Mhm.
shops already had a good, friendship. And so when I moved to the next place and I'd taken a business seminar with Darren Hardy, they were talking about, connecting with the people that you have in your shopping center. And I was like, oh, yeah, sounds good. Let me figure something out. So yeah, there are people that you can get referrals from. We
Mhm.
had a thing with them where like if they brought somebody to me and they signed up, I would give them something. So the girl next door, every time she'd sign someone up, I'd give her $50. And so it was like I think I signed like 3 or 4 of her customers up to be students, gave her $200 for just, hey, if you ever want to
Next
train,
thing,
go next door.
yeah,
It was like
get
50
better.
bucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense that you collaborate with your fellow businesses in your shopping center because how many you have? 20 in that shopping center? Do you know how many about in your shopping
Probably
center?
like 12-ish,
Okay.
but some of them are empty right now.
Yeah. And they're empty for that various thing that you wanted that lady to come and speak to your students. I mean, you're leveraging your reputation to bring them in and say, this person has a shop in the shopping center. If you can use her services, and then that person talks about it. Like, if you can't talk about your story, you're not going to be in business very long because you're the voice of the business and you have to be comfortable or uncomfortable about promoting it. So here's what I know I want to be respectful of your time. I love this. I mean, your principles are rock solid, and you can tell Darren Hardy's no. I mean, he's the publisher. I know him from a way business 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but he was author, publisher of Success Magazine, and he's
Yeah.
crushing it, doing all kinds of great things. And so you have to find those people in in your whatever circle of business because they've done what they're telling you to do. They're not just saying, "Hey, do this. I think it'll be a good idea." No, he's done it. He's achieved a level. And there's what is it? Success leaves clues, or it does leave clues. So if you want to do this, because it I know it pains you as much as it does myself when people close their doors. I mean, failure is part of business, but people put a lot of money into a lease, into putting a sign up, all that kind of stuff. And the one over there that I went to first can't be more than a year. So they had to have signed a 3-year lease. Most people, that's the way it is. So they're on the hook for paying out that lease because I'm just guessing. I don't know anybody's situation. It could be, like you said, a family thing where they have to go back and take care of personal things. But it still speaks to something happened that they shut the doors abruptly. And lease owners don't say, "Hey, thanks for trying. Here, don't worry about your lease." They don't they don't work that way. You're paying for years. So if you ever want to bring your shop owners on a podcast, we can take up to 10. And that way people get to hear the unique thing about each business, and each person gets to help each other, because that's what it's all about. It's collaboration and help and support. You can't do it alone. There's no Lone Ranger in business.
Yeah,
That's a good movie, but it ain't a good success story. So
true.
I want you to, let's see, we're going to put your contact information up because one, I believe you're going to be coaching in the near future, because you have prepared yourself to help others. And I know your heart. You reach out there to help people. Now, everybody doesn't accept it, but that's a choice that they make. So tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can come down to the gym, which is off Bells Ferry Road, in the shopping center with the Publix and the everybody knows the Harbor Freight's in there. The Orchard Square Publix, or you can text or email or call, but the text is the best place, honestly, if you want to know the truth. It's 2024. 678-685-1737. And if you go to the website, riseupbjj.com, all of the information is there. It'll tell you can text or call that number. It'll tell you where you can email us, all of those. And if you're ever wondering, there are two people who respond to the text. Because it's me and my partner. I mean, I own the business, but my right hand man, we're the ones who will be messaging you on there. But that's the best ways of reaching out to us. Just drop on in, phone call, email. We'll be down there. But we're there most of the day, every day, except for Tuesday, Thursday, only evenings.
Wow, that's so good. Now, we had a commercial last time. We're going to have another commercial because we got to support this. Okay, so I want people to know that just what Joanie was talking about, collaboration and community are so critical to success. If you're basing your business on Facebook ads, Google ads, and big tech, they change those algorithms like very often. I was in that business. I couldn't keep up. But we have a project that we want your story in our book. And if you're a giver, somebody like the people that we see on our podcast, you can get your story or chapter in the book. There's 30 stories and there's 100 mentions. And what is a mention? It's being in the book, and everything ties back to a story. And that's why podcasting is so popular, because there's 60,000 marketing messages a day that the average person sees. And if you think you can get through that, good luck. But stories resonate with people. That's when I first heard your story, Joanie. I mean, it was like, I always remember it. But do I remember details about things? Stories are remembered. If you're a good storyteller in business, you're going to be good. You're going to be successful if you do the principles. So this is something, if you want to be a part of this, June 8th is we have another live event coming up. We did a
Wait,
comedy.
Pete,
Yes.
take down my info so they can see the rest of your stuff.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Thank you for
Yep,
assisting.
there you go. Now y'all can see all of the
That's right.
information.
See, it takes two to help. Now, so podcasterpetecane.com, you can go on there. You can call me direct too here's my direct number, 404-428-3006. You can't get in the book until you do a podcast. So if you call me up and say, I want to be in your book, if you haven't been on the podcast, the answer is no, because we want to see the heart of our podcast guests. We want to see that they're givers, that they're going to help support our community and help each other succeed. So that's my commercial break. Thank you for telling me that. Dang, that's so good. Okay, let me remove this because we always do this. I'm going to say that we're speaking to the women out there because we're on the Women in Business podcast. What would be the one thing you would want to communicate to your women business owners that they can take away from this podcast?
Well, work on your confidence in yourself and your abilities to be a business owner, but also find other women who do the same thing. There's plenty of us getting together and collaborate and learn how to be better in business. And I'll give you all this last thing. I still have the rest of this week, so another 3 days of women train free, moms train free at my gym. And next month will be dads train free. So um,
I'll
yeah,
be ready next month. I don't know if you can train a guy that's working on just one good side and one side in recovery. But anyway, look, moms, you need to have confidence when you're raising kids and you're raising a family. It's tough. It ain't easy. And you know, Joanie, the safety out there, it's crazy out there in what we're dealing with. So you want to be able to defend yourself. You want to be able to, like you did with Brent, you put him down on the mat twice during our breakfast thing. I always kid him. I say, does it affect you that a little old lady, not little old, somebody smaller than you took you down twice? And he says, he always has a good answer. It's funny. Okay. So thank you so much and one, if you know a woman in business, share this because we are going to have, I won't put it up here, but we have 30 unique, heartfelt podcasts every single week, same time. And you'll see Joanie on the mindset one. You'll see her on the personal development one. You'll see her probably on about 8 of them, journaling, goal setting. I mean, we want to help our community succeed. And we want to bring you the best of people that have experienced, not just talk about it, but connect with experience and then doing align with what they're sharing with you. So thank you so much, Joanie, for being our guest on Women in Business podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. It's always a treat to have you on. Thank you so much.